No?
Oh yeah,
Okay. And we're live.
we
Awesome.
are live.
We're live. We'll see if anyone joins in tonight. But welcome everyone to you know first ever episode of the Butterfield podcast.
Yeah,
We are
Really?
joined we're joined today by officially, yes. We've had a few dummy runs, but we're joined today by with Coach Jen Winkler. I can't help but think about her as Coach Jen all the time, but
yeah.
but it's Jen. Yeah. So,
Yeah, we'll just go by Jen.
brief intro about Coach Jen Winkler. So, you are a certified primal health and wellness coach,
Hmm.
right? You teach you so you help women specifically with like issues, regarding to weight loss, regulating their hormonal balances, helping them out with PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian symptom syndrome
Syndrome. Yeah.
syndrome, right? Yeah, help them with those issues. What did I say? Weight loss already, and basically just helping them out with the real food. You know, everything we're about here at Butterfield and over on your side as well. So, I mean, I'll let you do your own intro as well, but
Yeah.
but we're joined by Frank C. Yeah, shout out to Frank. Thanks
Hi,
for
Frank.
joining, Frank.
Hey
Yeah. So
Frank.
I do help I help women with PCOS. I myself had it, and it's been reversed. So,
Yes.
yeah, with any kind of insulin resistance or metabolic syndrome disorder that they would have, I do my best to help them if it's obviously way out of my scope. I'm very honest with them and I'm like, sorry, I can't help. But mostly women with hormonal imbalance of some sort, PMS, PCOS, estrogen dominance or short luteal phase dysfunction is another one where progesterone is typically too low or estrogen's too high. And I mostly approach it with a nutritional and lifestyle uh, tweak. So some people, we will start primally in a sense where it's not necessarily keto or carnivore. I try to really help people change their habits in a sense because most people, let's
Mhm.
be honest, a lot of people know what's healthy for them, but they can't change their habits. I had a call today with someone who had that struggle. She's like, I know I need to change. I just always fall back. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about that then. Let's figure out why does that happen? So kind of the psychology of food, relationship with food, in a sense we usually dive into. And then there's other tweaks too. Blood sugar regulation is a big one I do in my practice.
Mhm.
Um, and working right now on a course of functional blood chemistry. So being able to take people's labs and blood labs of many sorts and look at it from a functional standpoint. So LabCorp will tell you an insulin level of 15 or 18 is normal when you and I both know that's incredibly high. So we take all the lab
Right.
markers and look at it from a functional standpoint to be able to help figure out what else is going on, what's the root cause. So that's another, I should be done with that in a couple months. And it'll be really fascinating to be able to implement it in the practice.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like the whole blood analysis. That is certainly an area that it is definitely beyond our scope. Be able to look at blood work and kind of tell someone
Yeah.
how they're doing.
Most of the work we do is just advocate for meat.
Well,
Yeah,
and that's really needed. I
Or
mean, we all have our part in this
yeah,
community, right? And advocates are very much needed to share the truth. And you guys' videos are so well put together
thank
that
you.
it's very digestible. You find these speakers and educators from all over the place and sharing the truth. It needs to be out there more. And the more people hear it, the more they're going to start realizing. So I feel like we all play a part in
Yeah,
this
certainly.
community, work together.
yeah. We're together in this, and yeah, and this is why kind of we started doing this as well because we want to, share people's stories, because stories kind of drive the needle right now. It's not. Uh,
Absolutely. Like I think.
yeah.
Yeah, they're
Uh,
not doing too many case studies and situations to help promote this lifestyle. So it's a bunch of N equal one experiments, which is what's needed these days.
yeah. Hopefully, there should be some critical mass number, right? As some X number we reach, so many N=1 where people have to actually kind of look at meat and not be scared of it anymore.
Right, exactly. I 100% agree.
Yeah, being able to reverse some of these inversions of the truths. It's like people get bombarded by things that are just quite literal inversions of
Mhm.
how we're supposed to live.
Yeah,
But
like the food pyramid should be upside down. That's pretty much what they reversed it, like
yeah,
put the grains up top, if not eliminate it, and meat and fats, all the bigger categories. So that's what I usually tell people. I say, if you know the food pyramid, turn it around. That's what you need to be doing.
absolutely. Kind of like that South Park episode.
Yes.
I like that clip.
Forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. But so uh, one of the reasons, I mean, we started talking about you coming on the show, having you as a guest, was because we were asking around for people who have like, healed or managed. I don't know how you would describe it, certain health issues, and the one that really stood out from you was epilepsy specifically. But I know that you were able to reverse, if not just like put in remission, like certain other health issues. And I assume that's one of the motivators behind which you decided to pursue this entrepreneurial path of coaching other people and helping them with their issues, right? So could you tell us a bit about, I guess, sort of that journey, like your past and how you got started?
Sure. Yeah. It's a long story, so I'll try and
It's a long story.
sum it up as much as I can.
Yeah,
Um,
well,
bas-
we have lots of time, and if you ever let us know how you're doing on your end in terms of time as
sure.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 12 years old, I was in 5th grade, and that's when I got diagnosed with epilepsy. I was in computer class, and if you guys remember those old, I don't know how old you guys are, but there were those old green screen computers that they kind of flickered a lot. We would use those floppy disks to play games. So computer class, I was in there. I was 5th grade. It was shortly after puberty, which that makes a big difference because hormones are all changing. And um, I fell and had a seizure. So the ER said no, it wasn't. Um, another doctor said yes. So it was kind of conflicting. So we just went home and said, okay, maybe it's just something happening. And I would say probably 3 or 4 months later, another one happened after not sleeping at my friend's sleepover birthday party, and it happened as soon as I got home in the morning. So then that was the official diagnosis after having 2 seizures. Put on a medication called valproic acid. If anyone in this atmosphere has ever dealt with mental health or epilepsy, it was a very popular one to give, and they said minimal side effects. You'll be fine. And I really felt like I didn't even have epilepsy anymore. It controlled the seizures really, really well. But the cost of it was very expensive in the sense of the rest of my health. So it then domino effect into insulin resistance. And when I was in college, I gained a lot of weight with that medication. That's a known side effect now. Back then, they didn't have that listed. And then 2003, I ended up getting hospitalized with pancreatitis. I was put in a not a coma, but I forget what they call it. They put me to sleep for the whole week, so I don't even remember anything really that happened because I was in so much pain, and the pancreas was so large. So then that had me off that medication, switched to another one that did not work. They had me on dual medication to try and control it, and then that just kept happening throughout my life of switching, increasing, more side effects coming, and it just kept going. I would say there was once in college, like around 2004, and then again recently, 2017, is when I asked my neurologist about ketogenic. I tried searching online, what's a natural way to heal epilepsy? I was really hopeful something could be out there because they didn't even know the cause of it. And I said, this doesn't make sense to me that this has been around for thousands, who knows how many years. You can even go to biblical times and they talk about it in there.
And so, sorry, Jen, and
yeah.
So you said by the time you asked your doctors, you were still suffering the seizures, even on the medication. So the seizures continued with you the whole time.
So yeah, I'll correct that. My last grand mal seizure was in April of 2005. I was in Europe at that time, in Belgium, actually, and studying abroad for a whole semester. So that's the last one I had. When I came back, they switched my medications. So the medications were then controlling the grand mal seizures, but they were not controlling what they call auras, which come before the seizure. So it's almost like a mini seizure in itself, but it's not the kinds that will restrict you from driving because you're not going unconscious. It's a precursor, a warning before the grand mal happens. So I kept getting those up until I started ketogenic. Actually, a little bit after I started ketogenic in 2018. But both of those doctors, when I asked, they said, "Oh, that's only for children." You know, that and it's very harmful. Cholesterol, you know, all the stuff you hear with ketosis. So I was like, okay, whatever. This last neurologist, though, she did give me, she said, "You can try modified Atkins." And I said, "Well, what do I do? I don't know how to do this." And she said, "I don't know either." And I'm like, "You're supposed to be the best epilepsy hospital in the country." So that's when I took it upon myself to start researching, found some of the, you know, long-time ketosis people in the atmosphere, in the community, and just started diving in, watched The Magic Pill from Netflix, and then that's when I was convinced. So my husband and I both started the journey, 2018. He has colitis. So within 5 weeks, the flare-up was gone, and he's never had a flare-up since 2018, and he's off his medication. So it's really been a family journey as well. For myself, it was much slower because having a seizure can be very dangerous. I'm a mom. I have a kid I have to take care of. I drive to work. You know, I don't now, but before I was. So I had to be very careful and strategic. But summarizing the next few years, I've been in ketosis the whole time, you know, with an occasional day that for some reason I'm not. But eating ketogenic the whole time from 2018, and I think 2020-ish is when I started carnivore. Did a whole year and a little bit more of strict carnivore. Fantastic. Healed me even further. I felt good. I felt energized. My anxiety attacks, panic attacks, all those things were disappearing. My medication was reducing. It was nerve-wracking because I hear studies for ketogenic diet for epilepsy, but I've never heard anything for carnivore. So I had to kind of reason with my own mind that carnivore will still keep me in ketosis. The ketones are what's healing my brain and my gut. So therefore, carnivore should work. So I just continued that, and it's been an amazing journey. At this point, I'm slowly reintroducing certain vegetables and fruits, and not junk food, but just, you know, whole food vegetable. I don't make it a big part. It might be like a half a cup with dinner. That's pretty much, you know, it's kind of just to add a little variety in a sense. It kind of helps me mentally. So, but it's not for any nutritional benefit. It's just kind of a little extra.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We're definitely not the food police. So don't worry. We're not reprimanding anyone here.
I know you're not, but there are people out there that'll be like, "Wait, so you need vegetables?" And
oh yeah, they'll hear. They'll hear
so
what
I
they want to hear.
be clear on
that. So from 2018 to 2020, these were the like pure keto years. Were you still having some seizures there, or like the pre-seizure?
The auras. Yeah. So I had less auras. I haven't had any grand mal seizures, thank God, but I was still having the auras at times. I later discovered that not only was it the diet that was affecting, but it was also the medication. So one of the side effects of the medication, and I still am on a little bit, a very low dose. I've gotten off of one, and I've more than halved the dose of the one I'm on now. So the side effect of that medication, when the levels are too high, which they were, and the doctor said it was okay, but it wasn't, are all mental health side effects. They're all anxiety, panic attacks, suicidal ideation, depression, and then also a risk of seizures, which is really interesting that a seizure medication to block seizures can also cause seizures. So once that medicine was reduced and the other one I was off, the auras have completely disappeared. And my anxiety is drastically better. I still have a little bit. I'm like any human being that some situations will rile me up and I'll get anxious. But it's night and day difference for me. at this point. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. So, do you remember the frequency that you were having it pre-keto and then during the keto phase? And then I guess also compare that to the carnivore phase just to see how
Yeah.
things moved.
So as far as grand mal seizures, I wasn't getting them very, very often with the valproic acid. That one, actually, I don't think I really had it at all until I was 16. And then I think again at 18, it was controlled pretty well. I'm on Keppra at this point, and many people with epilepsy get put on Keppra. It's a very successful medication, to be honest. But once I was put on Keppra prior to ketogenic, I was still having the auras and all that. Ketogenic, it was reduced, I would say, by like 60 to 70%, but I was also lowering my medicine very, very slowly. So it's kind of one of those, I don't know which one would be the cause, and I like to be very honest with that stuff. And then carnivore was like a firework lit in my brain. It was clarity. It was not motivation, but like I wanted to go work out. I wanted to exercise because I had this energy inside that I needed to let out. I didn't necessarily have that on keto, but I think also it was because, and to answer your question, yes, carnivore, there was much less auras. And at this point, I would say it's almost 0%. You know, I can't remember last time I've had one. So the combination of being in ketosis and having that low dose medication is probably where I'm going to stay at for a very long time. I don't feel side effects of it anymore. And for me, the risk is just, it's too high to completely get off. Someday, maybe I will, but right now that's where I'm at. That's where I feel comfortable. So yeah, I was going to say something else with that, but I forgot. So
no, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Yeah, the risk of taking off the medication, I mean, who knows, right? But it seems like your quality of life has really improved, by orders of magnitude.
Come a long way. Wow, I had no idea about your story.
Yeah.
There's so many facets. Trying to balance the hormones as well is. I like to be transparent with people. So my main purpose, obviously, is controlling the seizures. That's my main goal with ketosis, with ketogenic carnivore, is keep a low dose of medicine, keep the seizures at bay, and that's it. Everything else is secondary. Now, would I love optimal health? Absolutely. Anybody would. Balancing hormones is a really hard one for my situation because the medication, some people need to carb cycle or whatever. There's so many different things that I could try, but I can't because I have this main reason I have to stay in ketosis for a long time. So my hormones are they're good. They could be better in a sense. I don't think it's keto that's done that. I think it's just something else I'm still digging to find. But it's interesting. People will tell me oh, have you carb cycled? Try introducing this stuff. And a part of me is thinking, I mean, I don't like negating any type of thing, the lifestyle or nutrition, until I see the science or, whatever it is that I like to give it a chance,
Yeah.
So for some people, carb cycling works. Fantastic. I don't know why. I don't know the science behind it, but it's working for them. Okay, great. Go ahead and do it. But for me, that's not an option. So. Yeah,
because it sounds like if you introduce carbs, your risk of having another seizure is noticeably goes up. So
yeah, you could. I mean, I'll be kicked out of ketosis. I have to eat an 80% fat, 20% protein diet. So my protein is also not as optimal as most people say. Everybody says you should be having at least 100 grams of protein a day. And then there's those ratios of, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of lean body mass. Yeah. Or per pound of what you are. I've heard both of them. So mine it's close, but it's not quite there. For me, I think it's enough because I have enough of the fat, at least for this stage. Maybe I'll up it at some point. But when I was eating just meat, just eat any meat or anything like that, my ketones were not where they needed to be. My glucose was not where it needed to be. Some people, again, it works. For me, it didn't. So I actually need to track and make sure I'm getting 80% fat. And then that gives enough ketones for me to make sure I'm in a therapeutic state of ketosis.
Yeah.
And so when you were doing only meat, was it the case that the auras were like coming back, and then that's how you could tell that you sort of had to calibrate your approach, or?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, they weren't quite auras, but my brain fog, it was just like an overall brain fog, mental clarity kind of thing was starting to float away. And that was my main one. So not necessarily the auras, just I didn't feel as good.
Okay.
And it's kind of hard to tell, the gut and the brain is so connected. And sometimes when something's up with my stomach, then it happens up here too. So it's really hard to tell at times. But I just didn't feel the best. At first, I did. But I know that's because it was burning my body fat more, and the transition of going lower carb, it was going. And then eventually, it started fading off, where I said, I need more fat because I don't have as much on my body anymore. So I think that was the case.
Yeah. So I mean, like, so you even though you were not getting the auras, you kind of felt, after going carnivore and with the high fat ratios, that's where you realize that's kind of where you feel best. And when you're not there, you could start to feel like the precursors to it. So that's probably why you're leaning more towards higher fat now, because it sounds like a step process, right? Like a gradual process. If you decrease your fat, suddenly you start feeling this way, which could lead to the auras, which could lead to even a heavier seizure.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So I feel good this way. I feel good eating the meat and lots of extra butter and all the.
Nice.
I mean, I don't only do butter, obviously, but butter tastes so good. So
we can tolerate you eating plants, but not eating butter.
Say that again, sorry.
I'm sorry?
What did you? I missed it. What'd you say?
Oh, we are the butter police, though, so we will reprimand you if you don't have enough butter.
Yeah. The plants are okay.
I'll go check my fridge. There's plenty of it in there. So.
Yeah. So what are your meals like, or what would they used to look like when you were doing carnivore? Just like lots of added butter or tallow, or use like olive oil?
I do use olive oil too. So yeah, I mean, I also tailor it to where I am in my cycle. So a lot of women are starting to learn about this, that you can change your macros according to your cycle to support your hormones. And since I've done that, my hormones have actually gotten better. So
really?
like fasting is a big one, to fast according to where a woman is in her cycle. So like for bleed week, it's a fantastic time to do long fasts, 24-hour, 48-hour, those kind of times. A lot of women, when I tell them, they're like, that's what I want to eat the most. And I said, eventually when you're fat adapted, keto adapted, it transitions and it's amazing. That's the week I can go without food the longest and not be hungry. Following week, the body's preparing for ovulation. So you want to feed it so it doesn't think it's in a starvation mode without any food around. The hormones are changing and fluctuating. So that's the time when I go back up to 80% fat and 20% protein. I'll bump my calories just a little bit. And then the week after ovulation, like within the first few days, that's when testosterone is highest for women. So that's the time to get into the gym, lift as heavy as you can, like until failure, and help build that muscle. So I do that along with bringing the calories down a little bit. I always keep my macros 80-20, but I'll bring the calorie just a little bit down, and then I'll go back up the week before the bleed week. So it's this little roller coaster like this, getting the body continually guessing and not getting plateaued out. So saying that, and then the week before bleed week, there's no fasting. It's like I'll have my breakfast and then my lunch and my dinner in a probably 14-hour window, 14 to 16-hour window eating. So that helps support the progesterone hormone that's there. Some women will say you need to eat glucose for support of your progesterone. I don't have studies one way or another, but my viewpoint is glucose is an energy, right? fat is an energy that turns into ketones. So what if you up your fat instead of doing the glucose, right? So that's what I did. And I stopped fasting. And that was another thing that stopped fasting the week before my lead week. And that helped regulate things too. So saying that about fasting, the meals, most of the time is 3 meals. Sometimes it's a smaller eating window and I just have 3 smaller meals within that eating window. Sometimes it's a bigger one. So yeah, I mean, I'll have most of the time my husband does dinner. He did dinner tonight. We had chicken thighs, so I just eat 1 chicken thigh and it's so fatty. It's so filling, right? So that I'll
They're
have
good.
chicken wings at times. Ribeye is an occasion. I'm not a big have to eat ribeye all the time. If we could afford it, heck, I'd be having it all the time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I need to get creative at times with different things. But it'll be a couple eggs with sardines, good for the thyroid. I'll do eggs with bacon. I'll do, it's all the typical stuff you see.
Yeah. So that's so
But I
interesting
do
that
try
you.
to do different fats. Like I'll cook my eggs in tallow. And then if something I really want a buttery taste, then I'll put it on there. And I'll use olive oil with certain meats also, just because it's another different version and different nutrients that are added in.
Nice. What out of curiosity, what sort of olive oil do you use? Because I
Yeah.
know that there's a bunch of brands out there.
So I get what's on sale, but it has to be extra virgin oil. It has to be from the same country. Like you can't have extra virgin oil in one bottle from Italy and Greece and this. It's all from the same place. It's a glass bottle and it's a dark bottle so that it doesn't cause an oxidation so it doesn't oxidize.
The oils.
Cause issues in your body. So we always make sure it's that. And then, so I usually get the one from Costco most of the time. Sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't, but it's a dark green bottle, Kirkland brand, but it's from Italy. It's extra virgin oil and it's, I can't remember the time, but I've heard someone talk about it. You need to make sure it's within this time period. And that one hasn't failed me yet. So it's like after a certain amount of years, it's oxidizing or something like that. I don't remember.
There are some studies out there that show that time on the shelf does just naturally degrade or oxidizes the polyunsaturated fats from all these kinds of oils. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that checks all the boxes as far as olive oil, as far as I'm concerned.
And we try not to cook with it either. Like I'll drizzle it if I'm searing a steak or something, maybe. So that would probably be the hottest it gets. But I know I've heard different things with that too. Some people say it has a high smoke point, and some people has a low smoke point. So I don't even know where to stand on that one. Yeah.
Highest smoke point, I think, probably ghee or coconut oil.
Yeah.
Tallow's pretty good.
Tallow as well, of course.
Yeah.
I guess the more saturated it is, the more stable.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And then some people are like, no, you can cook as much as you want with olive oil, as high as you want. I don't know. I don't think so.
No.
Yeah. You don't want that.
No, it definitely burns.
Yeah. So that's interesting that you cycle your macros, you cycle your calories, you even have a testosterone week. I'm very curious about that week. How can not that you may know, how can we as men have testosterone weeks where we just increase our testosterone levels? But
no, it's just a natural cycle. So you guys, like men's hormones are constant. They just keep going like this, right? But a woman's cycle, I wish I could like pull up a graph on here to show. We start progesterone's very low, and it's showing reverse on mine, so I'll go this way. It's showing progesterone is low in the beginning, and then you get like an estrogen bump, and while estrogen's going down, LH is going up, and FSH, and so you get all these going like this. So after ovulation is when testosterone does a little bump like this, and then goes like this, which causes progesterone to also increase. So it's just a very small bump for like 3 to 4 days after ovulation. But that's, but you guys are just constant. So for you, it's more like eating lots of the protein, working out consistently, lifting weights, then that'll constantly drive up the testosterone as well naturally for you guys. We as women don't necessarily want to drive it as high. Obviously, that's one of the symptoms of PCOS is testosterone is too high, and then male symptoms start appearing, such as, I can never say it right, but it's hirsutism, where they get facial hair and hair in other areas that women normally don't have, and lower voice tone often happens as well. So yeah, things that testosterone usually causes, that's what women will get PCOS.
Oh, interesting.
Interesting. And so that'll be due to just like a dysregulation in their hormones throughout the what do you call the
Cycle.
the cycle? Yeah. So it's a monthly cycle versus men's, who is just like a, I guess, diurnal, is it? Like just during the day? No, wait, diurnal is something else.
I'm not sure. I
don't know. I forget.
Yeah.
I just know it's constant. Like you don't have the major fluctuations or cyclical fluctuations like women do. So, but with PCOS, that testosterone is usually high. And then their cycles are not monthly. So some women with PCOS, it'll take over 40 days to have a cycle. So some will go 60, even 90 days before they get their menstrual period. And that's part of the hormone imbalance, the estrogen dominance, the testosterone, the insulin resistance. It's really a diabetes of the ovaries, PCOS. That's essentially what 80-something% of PCOS diagnoses, that's what the cause is insulin resistance.
Insulin. Yeah, insulin resistance does seem like the bad guy in a lot of modern chronic diseases.
Yeah, common theme.
Yeah.
It really is.
What are some like the early signs that that you may have PCOS? Is it like the sudden delay in your cycle, or?
Yes. So the most, and you can't really say which one's early signs, but as far as typical symptoms before diagnosis is irregular cycle. So your cycles are really long. I personally never had the really long cycles. Maybe 40 days once in a while, but mine were pretty regular still. But the irregular cycles, really heavy bleeding, that's like really strong menstrual cramps that you can't really handle anymore. No medication, no ibuprofen, no Midol, no over-the-counter medication or even prescription is going to calm those menstrual cramps. So that's another big one. Infertility, unfortunately, is a big one many people suffer with PCOS. They can't conceive, and that's because their hormones are imbalanced. You need progesterone to carry a pregnancy, and your progesterone is being tanked by PCOS. And some of them don't even ovulate, so that's part of it too. Like I said, the facial hair, the weight gain is a really big one. They'll have weight around the belly most of the time. There's a whole number of them, but those are the most common.
Wow.
Yeah. And I guess the weight around the belly is like I guess, could you describe it as more like a male characteristic of like packing on weight?
It's interesting. So with males who are overweight, I think I tend to notice more of the visceral fat, like that beer belly kind of thing.
Yeah.
With women, it'll go all the way around in a sense. So it doesn't look like a pregnant belly. It's just girth around. And I know males can have that too, but for me, when I picture a male overweight, I picture that front belly, the dad bod or whatever you want to call it.
That nonsense.
Yeah.
The belly over the belt.
Yeah, exactly. But women, it goes all the way around.
Yeah. Huh.
Interesting that. It's just difference between men and women fat distribution.
And so, if a woman is like experiencing like facial hair growth, does that necessarily mean that there is insulin resistance as well, or not necessarily?
Not necessarily, but majority, I'd say, if I had to put a number of it, it'd probably be 90 to 95% of those cases are probably insulin resistant as well. I haven't met a woman who has PCOS, I haven't met a woman who has the facial hair growth and is not overweight as well, which is the other indicator of insulin resistance, right?
Yeah.
So my perspective and what I have noticed, again, these N=1 experiments kind of thing, I noticed they go hand in hand typically.
Because I'm just recalling, and I had a friend that she wasn't overweight. She was skinny, but I know she was facing that issue. She got like hair growth on her facial hair growth, and also on her back. And I'm wondering, like, but she wasn't overweight. Like, she was maybe she was too skinny. I don't know if that could be an issue as well.
You know, one of the stereotypes out there is if you're insulin resistant, you're going to be overweight, and that's not true. So you can have insulin resistance and diabetes even and not be overweight. My husband, we are like 99% sure he was type 2 diabetic before ketogenic, because his A1C has gotten better. And I'm assuming most people know here that what the A1C is, but it's your average glucose fasting. And his A1C, we never knew what it was before we started, but on ketogenic, mine got down to 4.8. I was ecstatic. I was like, great, it's perfect. But his hovers around 5.1 and 5.2, which isn't horrible, but it's like, we're eating the same things. Why isn't yours going down? And I have a feeling with the foods he was eating, lots of chips, lots of Snicker bars, all those kind of things. Like we've done little times at the dinner, like, well, how many carbs did I eat in a day before? You know, what did that look like? So we kind of added it up, and it's astronomical, the number that we were having. It's crazy. And he works outside, so he gets dehydrated very easily. So he always wants the salty stuff, right? So we're really sure he was type 2 diabetic and just undiagnosed. And he's very small. It's hard for him to gain weight. So especially with the colitis, right? So he's not tiny. He's not like I don't know. I can say this on he doesn't look like a vegan, right? he's got some muscles, but he's not where he wants to be, right? So it's just hard. For some people, it doesn't come natural. So yeah. So my point being, not everybody with insulin resistance is overweight. Some are skinny. I have another friend too, just called me recently, and she's pretty sure she's type 2. She's been pre-diabetic. She is what most women look at when they're like, I want to look like that. I want to be that skinny. I want to have that size. And her sugar's not good. So
yeah. Oh, so she gave you like her blood glucose measurement and her A1C as well.
Yeah. So she shared it with me a few years ago, and she's tried keto, couldn't really stick with it with the kids and stuff, and would give in. And now she's like, I need your help.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to help.
Coach Jen to the rescue.
Coach
I told him to get a CGM first. I said, you need to confirm that you actually are. Get a CGM, get your insulin tested, and then see where things are at, you know. Because sometimes other things can happen, you know, like if there's stress, that spikes glucose. There's people really and I posted a reel today, people underestimate the power of stress on your glucose levels. They really, I think everybody's always thinking if their glucose is still high with diet, then they're even more anxious. And it's like, why isn't it going down? Well, take a look at other things. Look at your stress level. How do you manage that? How can you better manage that? Let's look at your sleep, right? Are you sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night? And good sleep, not just the hours, like quality, getting deep sleep, restoring your body. You know, how can we fix those things? So that's other stuff we talk about I talk about with my clients too. You know, we get nutrition honed in, and then lifestyle, sleep, and stress kind of all mixed together.
Yeah, it's really taking that holistic approach, because, you know, I like to say you can't, you know the saying, you can't out exercise a bad diet, but you can't out diet, like, you know, a shitty lifestyle. Like if you're not sleeping well, if you're not doing all those things, taking care of yourself, you know, there will come a point where you're just not seeing the progress you should be seeing.
Yeah.
Most people.
Yeah. You like to track your sleep and steps?
I actually just got a new Fitbit.
So nice. Hey, we got the
Fitbit
same
gang.
One. You got the Versa?
Yeah, the Versa.
Yeah.
Versa
the Versa 3 is the one I got.
Yeah. I love my Fitbit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I had a cheaper one before, and then my kid had a meltdown and broke it, ripped it off my wrist. So I was like, well, now I can get a better one.
No,
So
same.
yeah, I love it. I'm a nerd. I love data. I love, some people it'll stress them out, but for me, it's more I can use it to my advantage. So
Absolutely.
I wake up, I look at my readiness score on my Fitbit. If it's like, oh, it's not looking so hot, well, I know I'm not going to lift as much at the gym, or I might just do a calm walk. I might do some more meditation, something to kind of calm myself in a sense. It's also been a great indicator. Like, one of the things I'm working on now is my HRV. I don't have a fantastic HRV, but it's giving me signals, something else I need to work on with my stress response. Am I in a constant flight or fight mode? I don't know. That could be part of it. So it's just fun to tweak with these things, and see what else can get fixed.
Yeah.
And help with goals,
Yeah, I definitely like for example, you if you had a 5,000 step day versus an 8,000 step day, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't be able to tell the difference if we didn't track. So if it's looking like towards the end of the day and we're at 5,000 steps, we're probably like, we should probably walk a little bit more, 10 minutes, to kind of catch up to the average. So yeah, no, love data here too.
And even another part I've loved, my other Fitbit didn't do this, is the reminder to move, because another friend of mine posted something a while back that made me really think about, so she posted about sedentary athletes. Like, are you a sedentary athlete? Do you go and work out at the gym really hard for an hour or whatever, and then the rest of the day you're just sitting, Netflix and chill, just working? And, it's better than the alternative, but is it really what you need? So the reminder to move on my Fitbit is very helpful, because when I'm sitting doing my coaching, getting my coaching program, or sitting with clients one after another, it'll be like, hey, you didn't get 250 steps in this hour. So it's like, okay, well, open my laptop, and then I just stand and I walk like in place while doing something. And then I got some movement in, it doesn't take much. The other day I did that when I was playing with my son. It reminded me, and he's doing his dominoes in his room, and I'm standing marching. He's looking at me. He's 6. What are you doing? I said, I gotta move my body. It's important to keep moving. So he got up and he started walking.
Nice.
It's cool, like you're giving impressions to your kids too. They start learning. Oh, if mom's doing it, it must be good. Okay.
Yeah. Kids learn from their parents. They will do exactly what you show them. You do.
Not
what you tell them to do, just what you show them.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Exactly.
Yeah. Leading by example. No, that's good. So that's actually
awesome. I love that.
Brings up a good question. Is your husband and your kids, are they following keto or carnivore, or?
How do you navigate that situation? And do they ever cheat?
Yeah, for our situation, we all eat the same in a sense. Like, we're all, I call ketogenic, but it looks different for all of us. So for me, I'm going to be my 80% fat. I'm going to be therapeutic ketosis. The early part of my cycle, I'm okay if I get kicked out just a little bit, because women are more naturally insulin sensitive in the first half of their cycle, and then the second half they're more naturally insulin resistant. So first half of my cycle, I might play around a little bit more. But my husband, his was mainly the colitis, the reason. So he does incorporate more fruits and vegetables than I do. And talking about steps, he is a land surveyor. So he's walking a lot every day. So he's naturally going to burn that off a little quicker. So that's his thing. He'll do fruits, some vegetables, like sweet potato. They made sweet potato fries in the air fryer tonight. Nice. My son, he is diagnosed on the autism spectrum, but it's more Asperger's. He's very high functioning, extremely brilliant, this kid. But it's the social awkwardness. So we allow him a few, treats here and there, as long as they're clean. So we have these little fruit bars. They look like fruit roll-up kind of things, but it's literally just fruit. And it's the way they process it in a sense. So it's like, okay, that's a little treat you can have. We don't do breads. We don't do any grains. We don't do crap oils. We have a jar of sugar that's been in the cabinet for like 3 years for when guests come over if they want sugar in their coffee, but we don't use it. So yeah, we're all really clean. It just looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
My mom lives with us as well, so I'm her caretaker, and she's considered legally blind. She has very little eyesight left from glaucoma and retinitis pigmentosa.
Mm.
She was supposed to be completely blind by now, but she's been living with us for 4 years, also eating ketogenic. I think she's closer to ketovore, honestly. Like,
Mhm.
both her and I, that's what I would consider it as. Like, we might
Mhm.
have a little dark chocolate, we might have like a little vegetable with our dinner, but the rest of the day is mostly animal based. So
Yeah.
with her, she reversed her fatty liver, she reversed her fibromyalgia, her depression.
Wow.
She's lost about, I think, 40 pounds now,
Wow.
somewhere around 40 pounds. And her eye pressure has been the best it's ever been the whole time she's been here. Like, her first time she went when she moved here to Phoenix, and she made them check it again. I'm like, are you sure that's what it is? Because it's never been that good for her. So she's been able to maintain that little bit. She has good days and bad days still.
Mhm.
But the fact she's maintained that little bit is the world, you know? So
Wow.
eyesight, that's another thing, you know? It's,
It
and it can help.
so it's yeah, not too familiar with the how it progresses, the eyesight. So eventually you go blind, but it sounds like that has paused at least.
Yeah,
Wow.
it has. So she has 2 eye diseases. Retinitis pigmentosa is when, and I might be saying this wrong, so any eye experts out there, I'm sorry, but I believe what it is when the retina detaches from your eye, and the retina is super important. So one of the symptoms they get is tunnel vision. So if, like, your eyes are like this, you can only see straight. You can't see what's going up, down, side to the side. It's just straight. The glaucoma she got, that one's more of an inflammatory eye disease, is my understanding. And that's the main one that causes the blindness. So I think it's her left eye she's completely blind. I might be wrong, but one of them is completely blind, and it was from the glaucoma. Your eye pressure goes too high, and then it's just kind of like almost like a fuse pops, like, boop, it's gone.
Wow.
So that's what's happening in her other eye, but it's the eye pressure being down is not causing the glaucoma to get worse. So it's just kind of staying where it's at. It's not going to improve, but it's not going to get worse.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of, so she's very grateful. It took a couple years for her not to worry that she would get a heart attack or anything like that.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom, we'll order your lipids, we'll order all that, and they're all good, you know. I'll be honest, her HDL could be better, but that's because she doesn't move much due to the eyesight, right? So she's not
Yeah.
going for walks, she's not lifting weights as much. So that usually improves the HDL, as you guys know. So, but everything else is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
What do her doctors have to say about
This is
her?
the cool
her
part.
children?
Okay, I'm not gonna out this doctor because he could get in trouble. But this doctor is part of one of the big hospital systems here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
I started seeing him years ago. I think when I first moved here, someone recommended him before keto, and I've loved him. He's fantastic. His wife, I think, does functional medicine or something like that, so he gets a little bit from her, but works as an MD. So he loves that our family does keto. He thinks it's the best thing we can do, which is
Yeah.
awesome, you know. And so he was happy with it. Her LDL is high according to LabCorp standards. It's over 100, but he knows that it's fine, you know.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law actually started going to him, and he called her right away after she got her labs done and was like, you need to come in. You are type 2 diabetic. And he put her on medications because I think it was in the 400s for sugar and fasting. So he put her on some meds, but he said the best thing you could do is go keto. So that's what you have to do. And when she told me that, I was so excited. I'm like, yay, he's fully on board now. Like, we're trying it to patients. So
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, so totally cool, you know.
And that probably just helped convince your mother as well.
Yeah.
Like I assume you by yourself was just not enough for her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she's Spanish. She's originally from Venezuela, so English isn't her first language. So trying to explain these technological, scientific terms. It's like she doesn't get it. It's just we were told margarine and grains and all these things are good for you. And I said, Mom, when you moved from Venezuela and then you moved to Massachusetts, what happened there, right? And she gained weight. Both her and my grandmother gained weight big time. And I said, yeah, because you were following the margarine and canola and mazola and all that stuff, right? So
Yeah.
Mazola, yeah. Let's take a moment and read the comments from Frank. I don't know if you can see them.
I cannot. So yeah, if you
I
read
think
them,
we can show them. So he's been chatting the whole
Oh,
the whole show.
the whole
What he
time.
says, Frank says, "I love my garment."
So
Nice.
I tried Garmin first. I got that like I think a week and a half ago, and I can't remember which one it was. But it wasn't very accurate for me. And I've a lot of people recommended Garmin, and that's why I got that one first. But in my sleep, it was claiming I was only getting 20 minutes of deep sleep, and that's never happened. My steps were completely off. The heart rate was completely off. And so I was like, well, I always liked my Fitbit before, but a lot of people like Garmin, and maybe mine was just a cheaper version of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the brand, but I know they have like I guess some of their watches are more stylish.
They are.
Yeah.
I love the style of it.
Yeah, they look cool. But as far as functionality, I'm not familiar. I've always been loyal to Fitbit.
Yeah, same.
For many years.
Garmin's more known for like their GPS stuff. You know, we used to have those GPSs in the car, the separate ones. So I think that's why they went into this, like, okay, movement, you're going for walks and hiking and stuff like that. But for health specs, it wasn't accurate for me. I know that for sure.
Does it show up on your end?
I see it now, yeah.
Oh yeah. So he said this was earlier. We can all relate to each other. We've all come to Carnivore Lifestyle because of events in our life that led us here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And he's like, oh, first
and
one here from
learning from each other. That's the best part.
Yeah, through sharing stories, watching from San
Bernardino. I have friends there.
Shout out to San Bernardino. And last thing he sent was a quick question. As a daily runner, 5+ miles a day, 6 days a week, and more on weekends, being a new carnivore since September 1st, would it help benefit my runs if I added more fat as fuel?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would ask what makes you feel you have to add more fat? Do you feel like you're lagging behind in your, time per mile? Is it you're trying to even get better and you just can't? Do you feel hormones are getting off balance? It would be the reason. What's the reason you have to add more fat?
How much is he having now? Right? I don't know.
Right, exactly. What's your ratios look like? How often are you doing it? Are you a butter chugger? Sorry, don't mean to. There's a lot of nuanced things that can affect a simple question like that.
Yeah, is he having enough electrolytes? Right. If he's just starting for the first time, I don't know if he just started cold turkey. He was keto before.
And even the quality of electrolytes, I'm learning more and more that they're not all created equal. Sometimes you need a very specific ratio. That's one of the things I do that I'll be learning with. Actually, I have learned it, but once I'm certified, checking people's electrolytes. Here's a really interesting example that I loved. We have the range, right, for sodium and potassium. Some people might have sodium on the lower end of the range, and some people might have potassium on the higher end of the range. They're both in range, but they're on opposite ends. That's an electrolyte imbalance. So many doctors will be like, oh, it's in range. Everything's in range. You're good. But that's the functional approach to it is, wait a minute, let's look at this and make sure it's not a balance. And then if it is, depending on if it's sodium low, potassium high, or whatever, then there's further, I can't diagnose, but further speculation and searching to what could be the cause in a sense. So
interesting. No, that makes sense how something like that could be overlooked if it's just in range.
Yeah, I'm not too well versed on that area, but I just know that as long as if you keep your sodium intake adequate, there should be no issues. But if you're not, then that's when like potassium and your other electrolytes, magnesium, can start getting depleted, and then you'll get like these symptoms right? Like the dizziness and lightheadedness.
Mhm.
Um,
Heart rate increase.
yeah,
Yeah.
the palpitations, I know that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Um, do you have any quick fixes? Say if like someone's potassium is low, like just eat a banana,
No, please not. I mean,
and bacon.
if it's only potassium that's low and not sodium that's high as well, potassium we have to be very careful with because it really affects the heart rate. So
Hmm.
that's one. If it's potassium low, I'm not well versed enough yet. I need to study more. Usually I'll go to my notes and I'll look, okay, what's am I supposed to do? But definitely supplementing with potassium alone can get risky depending on
Mm.
the dose if you actually need it. So it's always better to have a practitioner advise you if you need to. Now,
Right. Yeah.
that being
Nothing here is
said,
medical advice.
yeah, nothing here is medical advice. So that being said, I would start with an electrolyte. Like you can make your own very easily. LMNT, Rob Wolf has the recipe right on his website. He doesn't
Yeah.
believe everyone needs to buy his brand. Uh, but he's like, if you want to, great. If you want to make it at home, here's the recipe. So he
Mm.
has a
Yeah.
fantastic recipe of you buy your sodium, you have your salt. I use Redmond's real salt. You buy magnesium malate, and then you buy potassium, and that's it. And then you just mix it. And I think that's one of the best ways because then there might be sometimes the year you don't need as much sodium as you do other times, right? Here in Phoenix, I need a lot of sodium in the summer. It's still hot. I have a tank top on today. It was 102 degrees. Um,
Yeah.
but in the winter, it's freezing here. Like it's the desert, so I don't need as much sodium. So being able to adjust it throughout the year, I think, is really cool. Um, but yeah, that's usually what I tell people is, I help them figure out what that ratio would be, and then they
Mm.
can adjust it as needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if we should start playing with
With
some
with
electrolytes.
with some electrolytes. Yeah,
That would be
potential.
interesting. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what we do is just salt like crazy every
Yeah.
meal.
We eat so much salt.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
so
I buy the big bucket of
It's right.
Redmonds. That's
Oh, nice.
when
nice.
people are, that's a lot of salt. I'm like,
It's only 1 month supply.
For you. Yeah.
yeah.
Frank is leaving more comments. He says, since I've always relied on carbohydrates for fuel, it seems like my runs have gotten slower now that I'm no longer having carbs. I
Mm,
do consume 2 packs of LMNT electrolytes a day.
okay.
So it could just, I mean, in terms of performance, I know that like if he's always relied on carbs, like it can take some time to just like properly adapt from a performance standpoint. Um, so it might just be a matter of time. I hate to say that, like just you got a carnivore for a bit longer.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'm
yeah,
not well versed enough in the area of endurance running, I'll be honest. From some people that I follow in the keto carnivore space, I don't know, Frank, if you follow this guy, but his name is Jonathan Shane. His Instagram name is the Keto Road, and he's an endurance runner. He's hardcore keto. Has a great story that he shared. I've met him a number of times. We talk in the DMs, but um, he is primarily animal based, and he does incorporate some carbs, healthy carbs, for his runs to be able to run far. So I'm not anti vegetable, anti fruit. I think if it's used properly, then it's okay. Now, so Frank, you're carnivore. It's going to be your decision. Do you like, why are you carnivore? This is part of the coaching. We always like ask lots of questions. So why are you carnivore? Why did you get rid of the fruits and the vegetables? Was there digestive upset? Was there addiction? Was there, so it's a very tailored approach. But he might be somebody to check out and ask. Like he's been carnivore before. I think just kind of trying it out and seeing. So that would be a good resource too.
Yeah.
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 What was the name of the guy?
So his name is Jonathan Shane, and his Instagram
Shane.
is the Keto Road.
Hmm.
So he's done a lot of endurance things, and recently he did something with Robert Sykes. Keto Savage.
Peter
Mm.
Savage.
They
Yeah.
did one of those like really long walk run things. I think it was like 2 or 3 days. They were just going.
Oh my god.
So he's not just your typical runner. He really is an endurance running, and he's very fit. He's very healthy. So it's
Yeah.
just another resource. Explore your options.
Yeah. No, for endurance running, I know Zach Bitter. He's a ultra marathon runner. He hosted a podcast with Sean Baker called Human Performance Outliers.
Mm.
And his approach was, in season he was keto, but off season he was carnivore. And off season he was carnivore just for recovery purposes. He was recovering faster. And in season he was keto because just having the higher fat gave him the edge in terms of endurance. So yeah, that's it. It seems like, I don't know, you do need the higher fats if you're doing these endurance things.
Yeah.
But like you said,
definitely want the
Jen,
fuel.
And so calculating the macros, making sure, Frank, that you have the correct caloric intake. If you're running 5 miles a day, you're going to need some good calories, right, to fuel that. So finding a calculator that's reliable. I can't input anything here, but the one that I usually give people is, you would type in Google critical carnivore, like, I can't think of what it's called, the TDEI or something. Do you guys know what it is?
TDEE calculator.
Yeah, the TDEE. That's what it was.
TDEE, yeah, total
So
daily energy.
if you Google that, put those letters with critical carnivore, you'll find his calculator, and it's very accurate. It's on point. So
shout out critical carnivore.
And checking that out, and like tracking for a week. If you don't track your food, make sure every single bit you put in there, and see, maybe you're eating under calorie. A lot of people do, right? So that would be a thing. And then if you are eating on point, then implementing some fruit to give you that boost, because you're going to burn it off like that when you're running, right? As long as you're metabolically healthy. So I mean, I don't like to sit in one camp or another. I just camp in the middle, because we're also bio-individual. We all have our own thing. If he's metabolically healthy and can handle it.
Right.
Yeah, I think that the issue kind of ends up, or the issues kind of show up if there's like a storage of these extra energy happening, and the accumulation of that storage kind of leads you to being overweight, and then a bunch of problems. Right. But so if you can burn it off, if you're metabolically active, you seem to be able to tolerate it better.
Yeah. Just don't eat Pop-Tarts before you run. I don't know where this fad just started. Have you seen this? Where people are like, Pop-Tarts are the best fuel before a run. And I'm like,
what are you saying? One of those, like,
we saw that
dietitians on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, Michelle.
Was that her? I
Michelle Hearn posted it. But I was seeing it before that too. She just pointed it out, like, what is this going on? So
that's
So some manufactured food is actually somehow optimal for humans and their activities.
No, just because it's going to give a boost in energy doesn't mean it's good for you. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, will it give you a boost in energy and help you run? Yeah, but will it cause issues somewhere else? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just not real food. Like, the body wants to get rid of it too. Like, that's why it works for energy.
Exactly. Yeah, it's this world.
Just these people, the dietitians, like I guess your normies. I like to call them the normies. The normie zealots, the ones who defend like the evidence-backed, science-based approaches to these things. Just reducing nutrition to, like, these are the people who reduce nutrition to just calories, right? And then the downside of that is you get people who stop believing that calories matter. And it's just push and pull.
I feel like many of them fall on one end of the spectrum or the other. Like, oh, eat carnivore, don't track calories don't matter. And it's like, no. I mean, that can be a start, but like while you're transitioning, but you need to know where you're at. You can be in a caloric deficit too long and wreak havoc on your hormones. So, or you can be the other end where calories are bad. It just, I don't know. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
Frank says, yes, Laura, yes, that was my fuel, and peanut butter and jelly. I guess he means the Pop Tarts.
Oh,
Yes, yes. Oh, that's funny.
PB&J.
Well, good job,
yeah,
Frank, on getting rid of the Pop-Tarts and the peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
yeah,
Hope it's going well for you, man.
Yeah.
yeah,
Thanks for tuning in.
yeah. But yeah, no, yes, yeah, like you were saying, a lot of people focus on the macros. So like any any source of protein is the same amount of protein. Not true. Animal foods are the better protein. Or like carbohydrates, sure, any carbohydrates. So you have what sugar from Pop Tart versus sugar from a fruit. You know, it's going to be a fruit is going to have more nutrients in it. Um, and obviously when you're active, you're burning energy, you are using vitamins and other minerals in that process. So people forget that. People think, oh yeah, I could just take this empty calorie and use it for energy. No, you need actual vitamins and minerals to metabolize things properly as well. Those get used up. So yeah, long term people run into issues like that. uh, which is an aspect that you're developing, right? You're developing this more micronutrients um, knowledge, so you better understand where to get all these things from, all these different sources in foods, and measuring that in your blood work. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a really solid point. And I know I brought this up in the past, but there's such a huge focus on macronutrients, and that is the first step for some people transitioning.
Yeah.
But it's so little focus on the micronutrients. So like pea protein is not going to give you the full amino acid profile as a steak will, or a ground beef, or a chicken, or whatever. And then even I saw recently someone was talking about the B vitamin. I think it was a B vitamin that's found in certain plants. And because of all the soil degradation and all the glyphosate that's killing the nutrients in the soil, it is significantly reduced in plants. So B vitamins are one of the most important vitamins that you can have in your body to regulate hormones and regulate glucose and regulate everything. So when you're not getting enough of that, that's why, and then vegans, they're not getting enough of that B vitamin, but we have it stored in our liver. So that's why some people, when they go vegan, they claim they feel fantastic because their liver is letting go of those B vitamins and utilizing those. So they can be fantastic for 1, 2, maybe even 3 years, depending on how much they have stored. But then when that gets depleted, that's when they start looking like Tom Brady. What he looks like now. Which is why, I mean, somebody on one of my reels like a year or two ago, and I was kind of bashing a little on veganism, and they commented, well, look at Tom Brady, he's a vegan. I was like, oh, I didn't realize that. I used to like him. So looking up, he's like considered 80% vegan, if he eats chicken or turkey, something that's lean. And then I see that picture of him the other day that's like sunken in cheeks. He looks so sad.
Yeah.
I'm like, go eat a steak, bro. You want to.
Yeah.
So I cut up to him finally.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I know Tom Brady, when he was here in New England, they would call him plant-based, right? But yet, it might have changed now. Yet the majority of his sources of calories came from meat, actually.
Yeah.
But it's just in terms of volume-wise, he was actually getting a bunch of volume in terms of plants, but calorie-wise, it was mainly from your meats, which is funny. But I guess he has moved more towards the plants now, and now obviously that's having obvious impacts on his health.
Yeah, good luck to him.
Yeah, seriously. And that's one thing, you make a good point saying that. Just really, I want the best for everybody, and if you feel you're going to thrive on veganism, all the best to you, like just don't cry to me when it finally fails somewhere.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
we'll be here. We'll be here. Hopefully sooner than later, right? Now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So we've gone past the hour mark. How are you doing on time, Jen?
My time's okay. My battery, however, is at 15%. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, I just wanted to ask you a few more questions.
Yeah, go for it.
going back to the theme of hormones, I was just thinking, um, because I hear many stories just like from the page, just people reaching out for help. I hear lots of success stories, but also like I do find like occasionally like a woman who has had like just like bad luck or just like complications
Mhm.
before coming into carnivore, but then carnivore is not fixing her problems. But then it also turns out like she might be doing like OMAD, or I what I suspect is just severely under eating, and they come and they say like they've lost their periods, right? So
Mm.
they're like for a while. Do you deal with like those types of situations with your clients?
I do,
And
yes. And one of the things I always do too in the discovery call, I'll kind of dig into it a little bit. And if it's something that's a little bit beyond me, then I have resources of other trustworthy people that I can say, hey, this is a little beyond what I can do, but can you help this person? But most of the time, yes. A lot of the times is exactly what you said. If they're doing OMAD, OMAD is not good for women. I'm sorry. I
yeah,
don't care who you are, and you're saying I thrive on OMAD. It is not good. We are not meant as women. Men can do it fantastically. Again, your hormones are stable. OMAD kills our endocrine system, period, as
yeah,
women. We are not supposed to. And that's why, like, I found eating according to my cycle, like sometimes more calories, sometimes lower, sometimes big fast, sometimes small fast, really tailoring that to the cycle. And that's one of the big things I do with my clients. And to be completely honest, there are some women that carnivore is just not for them. They might need some green leafy vegetables to help drain the excessive estrogen. So one of the things vegetables does for women with estrogen dominance is through the digestive tract, it pulls that excess estrogen to help balance it out. So utilizing that in a sense with some women that need it can be very helpful. But that's a big part. And I'd say 90% of my clients have been under eating when they come in. So we do a phase 1 where we bring their caloric intake up, either at or a little above maintenance. And I warn them, if you gain weight, don't freak out. Okay, just trust the process. And then the following month, that's when we put them in a little bit of a deficit once we see things are stable and we're seeing signs of recovery. So then we do a little deficit, and that's usually when they start seeing the weight fall off or other things improve, inflammation and all that. And then the third month, it's different for everybody. So I don't even say what we do that. Usually it's very cyclical, like, okay, let's bump it up a little bit to maintenance and then go back down. And that way the body doesn't get into the starvation mode. But I tell them too about the fasting. That's the biggest mistake I think a lot of women make. There's too much fasting.
Yeah. So there sounds like there is a lot of value in frequency of eating, because, I guess you just probably these people don't have the capacity to eat like all the calorie needs probably in one meal. So
Right.
they do need like several meals in a day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, OMAD.
yeah. I'm not a fan of OMAD.
No, me neither.
We did it
2
for
a day, I
a
think
time.
is fine for some people. Two meals a day, but
Yeah,
not one for women. And you're right, the caloric intake, they can't really, it's very hard for women to get 2,000 calories into one meal. Most women are going to fall somewhere between 1,700 to 2,200 calories per day. And it's the other thing is many, many women, because they've been under eating for so long and not eating much protein, their stomach acid is depleted. Or they may have been on like omeprazole, any PPIs, acid blockers, acid reducers, and that severely screws up the stomach acid, the pH balance in there. So then when they do carnivore, they don't feel well on it. And that's another aspect of it. Like, I can't eat this much protein. Well, okay, let's check. That's another lab thing that we check. We look for the markers that signals low HCl. But that, and then also, like if they're eating low for so long, how are you going to eat 2,000 calories in one meal when you've been eating like 1,000 every day?
yeah,
It's practically the body has adjusted so drastically over so many years. It would take time to even get to that point, if it even should.
Yeah, that is scary.
Very scary because it's like the body adapts to the point where it's shutting down, like its
Yeah, no,
reproductive
exactly.
systems. Yeah, and
yeah,
just out of curiosity, like how long does it take for like a woman to like recover her
from
cycle?
from chronic dieting.
From something as severe as this, because yeah,
Yeah, I feel that's a really good question. It really varies. I know people don't like that answer, but
Mm.
yeah,
it's so
yeah,
different for everybody.
it's so different.
There's been women I see where 1 month, actually, I have a friend, 1 month of keto, and they wanted to get pregnant, but after 1 month of keto, she got pregnant. Her hormones must have been fine, right? Right
Mm.
after that.
Mhm.
But then I have other clients where we've been together for like 6 to 7 months. I've been coaching them, and I would say maybe 3 months in, their cycle starts regulating, but still have some symptoms of PMS. And then it's like 2 months later, okay, this is better. It's just how much inflammation is the body holding on to is one factor. Another factor is how strict are they? Are they following the protocol all the time, or are they still having issues and falling back? So it really depends on a lot of, and then genetics do play a factor in it. So not a huge one, but it's still one. So there's so many factors. It can range, but most women, it'll be, I don't know, probably 2 to 3 months at most would
Mm.
regulate, getting
Yeah,
rid of the inflammatory stuff and the
yeah,
regulating the insulin.
yeah,
Yeah, no, that's crazy. It's very fascinating. I mean, men and women are so different, and just like taking into consideration the hormonal cycles and all of that stuff, and how the nutrition has to go along with that. It feels like at some point it was like just like common knowledge in the past. Like people just knew this, I feel, and now everyone's like forgotten it. Because I don't know, it seems to me like if anyone needs meat, it's women more than men even.
Yeah.
I
And I
I
don't
know.
know what it is with women. I don't know if they think they're going to look like, Dwayne Johnson all of a sudden and all
Yeah,
bulked up. It's not going to happen. We don't have enough testosterone to do that. So
I wish it were that simple.
yeah,
Like
really, yeah,
we've
I
been trying
just
for
remember
years.
a lot of people will tell me, I'm nervous of bulking up, and you can't, like, unless you get supplementation of some sort, you're not going to bulk up like them. And even for men, it's difficult for you guys with those certain supplements, to get that big,
Yeah.
um, or enhancers or whatever. But yeah, it's the importance of protein is really getting out there now in the female community, and it's so important because I come across women who are menopausal and they're already in menopause, and they have hardly any muscle to help with insulin sensitivity. So the more I try to help women prior to getting stuck in that block and say, do it now. Like, if you don't want to go through that horrible stage of menopause, build your muscle, get insulin sensitive so your body can utilize it properly. And then when you hit menopause, you're not going to gain the fat as easily as most women with menopause do.
Hmm.
yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Build muscle to minimize side effects of menopause. I
Well,
like
and I
that.
can't say all side effects, but like
Yeah. Well,
a lot of the tough ones, the weight gain especially.
yeah. It can only help.
Yeah, yeah.
Only help.
Yeah,
I mean, the hot flashes and all those things that's a whole nother ballpark. That's the hormones doing this, and that's what it's going to happen at the end when it's dying out in a sense. So
yeah, yeah. No, no, muscle definitely a big helper in terms of like insulin resistance. You can just burn off a bunch of glucose using your muscles, and then your muscles become insulin sensitive post workout. Um, just for that, obviously for that period of time. So it could have, I don't know, maybe better. It could have almost immediate effects if someone actually starts resistance training.
mhm. And even walking for some women, like I have a client
Mm,
who has been keto for a really long time, many years, and she's just hitting menopause, and she's been having blood glucose issues. Like, it's higher than what it used to be, and it took some coaching and some convincing. I try not to convince. I want it to come from them so they can own it themselves. And when I'm not coaching them, they're going to still do it. But she finally started doing 2-mile walks every day, and her glucose is much better. So it can be the smallest tweak like that. Get outside for 30 to 45 minutes, go walk. Best time is first thing in the morning or right after dinner. Go do that. It'll lower your glucose levels. So, yeah. So now she's getting there. She's seeing results and she's happy. So.
Wow. So that is like
That's
the
awesome.
minimum effective dose, just walking, right? So
Yeah. Walking can do a lot of things, and because when women get older, it's harder for them to lift weights. It's harder for them to do all these things. But once they get some trajectory, like, oh, I'm seeing some results with the walking. Okay, now I'll start lifting, a little bit with my arms and stuff. And it just gets the ball rolling a little. I've
Yeah.
noticed.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
yeah,
Get the ball rolling.
that
Yeah.
that very small push or momentum pickup.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like the snowball going down the mountain and becoming like an avalanche. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Snowball effect. No, that's awesome.
Yeah. So another question I had for you: could you tell us a bit about the how your process has been like going away from carnivore? So you did carnivore for like 2 years, and then
Almost 2 years. Yeah.
almost 2 years. Now you find yourself just like gravitating more towards back like ketovore way of eating.
I would label it ketovore because I'd say like the first 2 meals of my day are carnivore, and then the only things that I add in that aren't officially animal based is I have a protein shake that is animal based, but it has cocoa and stevia in it also. So I'll put that in my coffee sometimes in the morning.
Sounds delicious.
It's really good, and I'll put it in yogurt at times too. So the Greek yogurt.
Ooh, yeah, sounds good.
They have different flavors. Equip Foods. Go to my link and use my discount code.
You heard it, guys.
You heard
they
it.
do have unflavored too, where it's just grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
And it's just the powder. So I haven't tried that one yet, but I'm gonna get that next time. But like I'll have some dark chocolate. I do get Keto Brick from Savage from Robert Sykes. Yeah, I only get they use pea protein in some of them and whey protein in the others. So I only get the whey protein ones. And I'll do a little bit of that on days that I need to bump my calories up some more. It's kind of just a little fat bomb. And then there's really not a lot of vegetable. I just want to be clear with people. If I called myself carnivore and I show a little bit of green beans in my plate, but it's so minimal that I do. It's literally more of a psychological thing to have some more variety. And then it's also a good carrier of fat, let's be honest. If I drench my green beans in coconut oil, that's going to help me get in more fat.
Yeah.
So, olive oil, coconut oil. There's an occasional time I'll make my son some, like this morning I made him some waffles using Nush brand, and they use like flax seeds and stuff like that. So once in a great while, I might be like, oh, that smells good. I'll have a bite, but that's essentially it. So it's really minimal that I add in. It's just for variety, and it's green beans, broccoli, whatever's in season really is what I try to do.
Yeah. I mean, and you still feel pretty good. You're not feeling that mental stage.
Yeah, I feel great. I don't feel worn down. I know I can't do coconut stuff. That one leads to skin issues with me. So anything coconut oil is fine, but any coconut flour, coconut chips, whatever anything else coconut I can't do, which is in a lot of stuff, surprisingly. So it makes me avoid the processed keto stuff. So I just try. I feel like I have healed enough where I can introduce a few things here and there.
Nice. No, I mean, that's good. I think one of the key lessons of carnivore is it's just, hey, don't be scared of meat. Meat is actually optimal for human health. I think that is like one of the main lessons, and obviously we shouldn't reprimand people if they take that lesson and then they're still having a bunch of meat.
Yeah, and then
in their
just move
lives.
on.
Yeah.
As long as it's mostly meat, yes. And it's not 300 grams of fruit,
A
right?
fruit.
Suddenly, somehow, you end up where you started. And then
Yeah.
you're like, what?
Exactly.
Suddenly you gotta
Yeah.
move, so it's consistent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
So
my
as
god.
long as it's still animal based and not fruit based.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think
Agreed.
so long as high quality animal protein is the base of your meals, like I think that's all it takes for most people, many people, a large percentage of people to start seeing improvements. And it's just not cutting out the junk, of course, and not being afraid of meat. It's wonderful. And would you say that, because so the epilepsy never goes away, right? Like it stays with you. Like
So
you can't say like keto or carnivore has cured or healed or anything like that your epilepsy.
my personal story, I can't say that yet. I did have what they call as an EEG that measures the brain waves and brain activity. I had one last year. So usually it's like every 3 years they do it.
Hmm.
And I had one last year, and it still showed. Well, one of the things they do is they put like a light right in front of your face, this close, and they'll flash it at different speeds. So that showed I still have the photosensitivity aspect of epilepsy, which means I probably still have it.
Mm.
I can't be around strobe lights and things like that. So, yeah, so it still showed a little bit of activity. It wasn't as strong as in the past, which is really good. But yeah, we'll see. I know plenty of people that have come to me in my DMs sharing their stories, and I've seen plenty of stories of people being healed. Like their epilepsy's gone, they're off of medication. Charlie Abrams is a perfect example from the Charlie Foundation when his
Yeah.
dad, the whole thing, you can look it up, but his dad finally sought out ketogenic, and his son is now working in a school completely seizure free. And he even went so far to reintroduce certain standard American foods like pasta and things like that. So
Bold.
he's still doing well. Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get to that point. But just to prove the point of the healing power of ketosis
Wow.
is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I could ever go back to pasta. I just don't.
No.
I don't think I miss it. I like my steak.
So you guys are like Cape Cod or something, right?
Yeah, we're
So
based
you
in the
get a
Cape.
lot of the Portuguese bread up there.
Yeah. There's a surprising number of Brazilian people as well here. Yeah. And
Fechadas.
Feijoadas, yeah.
oh yeah, we
Yeah.
we were at a Brazilian steakhouse not too long ago, and probably will go next week.
We're definitely going next week.
Rodizio, a Rodizio. So yeah, only all you can eat steak. So, well, Brazilian barbecue.
Yeah.
But they do have that feijoada station.
Oh,
Yeah, we're Hispanic, so we kind of grew up just like eating beans and tortillas.
which is a lot of it over here in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really miss them,
No.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't crave feijoada. I'm more of like sweets are my weakness. That's
Okay.
always my temptation.
Sweet tooth.
Yeah,
Sweet
but
tooth,
the
yeah.
pizzas and the pastas, never really cared much for them.
Yeah, growing up, it was a lot of Portuguese food. Like I'm half Portuguese, and that side of the family, I mean, festivities were life, right? Like every Sunday we're with our family, and Christmas and all these holidays are big gatherings. So I remember there at my grandmother's house being a specific huge table with just desserts, like so much, and it was there the whole night. So playing with my cousins, I'd go and I'd grab another bite, and then go and grab it. And it was just consistent, and it's so interesting hindsight looking at the habits that were formed in the family, and I mean, when they were in Portugal and Venezuela, they would do the same, but they didn't gain weight and they didn't get unhealthy. So, it's something about the Americanized desserts, and I believe it's the inflammatory oils with mixed with the sugar that then cause this domino effect of metabolic disease passing down generation to generation even. But yeah, it's just interesting to look in hindsight what those habits were like, and what
Yeah.
forms you need to have the temptations I have now. So
Yeah. No, that's interesting because I've heard that a little bit as well about it can't just be the sugar, but it's likely something else. And I think we can point to the seed oils. Uh, there's obviously something wrong with both of these kinds of
yeah,
foods. But yeah, like you say, Americanized foods
Yeah,
are
it's just highly refined and all the like synthetic additives to like I don't think you're getting any of that in like developing nations.
right.
yeah
No,
Just
yeah,
foods become more of a formula instead of a recipe. It's like let's add all these compounds now to this and create some food.
oh yeah. It's crazy. Like they want it to become addicting so you can't stop. There's a reason Pringles is called once you pop you can't stop. They knew, they formulated it
they're
so that
telling you.
you will eat the whole freaking can of Pringles and the whole bag of Oreos. You can't
yeah,
hitting that dopamine receptor in your brain where it's like, I need more. You never know when you're full. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Food science engineering. That
Yeah,
that is a whole nother beast.
that is. It's a very interesting rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah.
So I don't want it to cut off in the middle, but my phone's at 5%.
it's about to die.
Yeah.
Right.
The screen just
Okay.
dimmed, warning me.
No, it's okay. No, we appreciate you taking your time
Yeah.
and hopping on this call with us. I've learned a lot. I think
So much.
it's you realize there's always more you can learn.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah,
this
no,
whole
totally. That's what
side
I
of
love about this community. I'm very
yeah,
open-minded, and love having conversations about stuff like this and learning more.
yeah, and this whole side of like the women physiology, I think is very very interesting because there's just no one size fits all advice, and
No,
I've seen so many women suffer unwanted consequences when they're trying to or they're just trying to improve their situation and they just get bombarded by bad advice
yeah.
and
Yeah. Chronic dieting.
yeah, chronic
Yes,
dieting and
yes.
yo-yo dieting, chronic cardio, all that thing.
They're
Yeah.
just burning their adrenals and endocrine system. It's
Yeah, so I learned a lot, and it's great that you're doing your part by trying to help other people. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Fighting the
great.
good fight, fighting
Yeah.
the
So,
good fight.
Yes, you guys too.
where can people find you, Jen?
Yeah, so Coach Jen Winkler on Instagram is my handle name, and then my website is theketogenicmom.com.
Ketogenicmom.com.
Yeah.
There you go. There you
Awesome,
go.
awesome. And then you'll be releasing your course in the upcoming months, your blood chemistry.
Yes. So I take clients right now for coaching as well. I have actually one spot open left before because I don't want to take too many right now. But as far as functional blood chemistry, like if you just need a session and blood work done, then that'll probably be in December or January.
Cool.
Awesome.
Hey, we might take one of those
Yeah,
down the
definitely.
line.
Totally, it would be great. We'll figure something out together.
Yeah, awesome. Let's see. So Frank says, "Awesome podcast, fellas," and Jen. Shout out Frank
Thank you,
C.
Frank.
Yeah,
Thank you,
lots
Frank.
of love, Frank. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right,
And Jen.
it's shutting off.
Yeah. Thank you so much once
Thank
again.
you,
We'll
Jen.
catch you later. Yeah.
See
Enjoy
ya.
the rest of
Bye.
your night.
Yeah.
Good night. Bye bye.
All right. So that was our podcast with Jen Wrinkler. You can find her at
Winkler.
uh,
Winkler.
Winkler.
I
Yeah.
think you said Wrinkler.
Oh, no. My bad. My bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find
Thanks,
her on
guys.
Instagram or her website, the ketogenic mom.
The ketogenicmom.com.
Ketogenicmom.com. And yeah, if you and we on our end, we also offer coaching, but more of a fitness related coaching.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we gotta do the plug. So support Butterfuel. Thanks everyone who follows us on Instagram. We're gonna try to be doing these shows more often. If you want to support the show, you can buy our merch. You can go on our website, butterfuel.com. You can read some of our articles too. We have the butter battery merch. We have t-shirts, tanks, hats. The Make Butter Great Again hat. We'll be releasing a t-shirt soon for that, and then we'll be dropping more merch. We also do two-on-one coaching, an animal-based carnivore approach to bodybuilding and weight loss, sustainable weight loss. You keep those pounds off, 5 years down the line, rather than just crash dieting, doing gimmicks, doing fasting, tanking your metabolism for that wedding that is coming up. 2023 is right around the corner. There's no better time to start than now. Keep in mind, we have Halloween, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, New Year's Eve coming up, and then you probably have some birthdays or a wedding or whatever event. There's always a special occasion around the corner. So if you wait till 2023 for your New Year's resolution, you might just be at a worse spot than you are now. So, take action now. And if you're interested in learning more, you can just follow at Butterfuel Fitness on Instagram, our page dedicated solely to that kind of content. If you wanna support the show in other ways, then you can go in our link tree on Instagram and use code Butterfueled for 10% off on Carnivore crisps. You can use our code Butter5 on Triangle S Livestock for a 5% off, and you can stack that discount under additional 10% if you sign up for I think it's their newsletter or text messages. They have great prices for grass-fed, grain-finished beef, because grain-finished is also pretty delicious too. Anything else?
Awesome. No, I think you got it.
Yeah,
You got it.
This is great. This has been great. Shout out Coach Jen Winkler.
Awesome.
Frank C says, looking forward to the next guest. Thank you, Frank. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Shout
Man.
out, Frank.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Stay strong. Eat meat. Don't forget to move. Oh, the whole shebang.